Good morning everyone. Welcome to Life Care Games Park in sunny Adelaide. Apologise for not being there in person, but unfortunately I couldn't make it. But delighted to take the opportunity to talk about Games Park, the technology and some of the dementia design elements that we've put into this facility that make it one of the very best in Australia. Before I share the technology and some of the unique features of the facility, I'd just like to talk a little bit about the story of how Games Park came to be. As a teenager, my grandparents were in what was a hostel, low care, here on this very site, and I visited there regularly with my mother. In fact, I've got two brothers, and it was really who was most badly behaved was the one that used to have to go and visit our grandparents, because even though we loved our grandparents, the environment here was pretty average and we didn't want to be here. Imagine my surprise 25, 30 years later when I became the CEO of Life Care and I visited the same site. I rang my mum up and said, "Mum, is that where Nana and Pop were?" And she said, "Yes." And the sad thing was, in the 25 years since I'd last visited as a teenager, absolutely nothing had changed. Maybe a little bit of painting, nothing had changed. And I made a promise to my mother and to myself, if I didn't do anything else as the CEO of Life Care, I would actually transform the site that used to be here. So with that in mind, several key staff and I set off on developing a bit of a vision. What did we want to do in residential aged care? We want to move so far away from the 80s model and move so far away from everything else that people were doing in Adelaide. We went on a bit of a journey, did a lot of research. We looked at the stuff that Bill Thomas was doing in the States and the greenhouse model and all that sort of stuff, and loved it. We just couldn't see how that translated to residential aged care in Australia, which is a very regulated system. Fortunately, one of my key staff and I in 2015 went on a study tour into the UK, Germany and Holland. While we were in the UK, we went and visited a facility just outside Bristol that was run by the St Monica's Trust. And they had an amazing open plan approach to residential aged care that we just thought was absolutely aligned with our thinking and the vision we had for aged care going forward. So with that in mind, having set our vision, we came back to Adelaide, determined to build something along the lines of what we've seen in Bristol. So armed with a vision for what we wanted to do in residential aged care, and with sort of the design elements of St Monica's from Bristol and the research that we'd done, we were determined to do something very, very different by Australian standards. We didn't want the institutionalised nursing home that everybody else has. We wanted something that was very non-clinical, replicated and reflected a more natural home-like environment and more natural home-like rhythms for the people that would live here. A place that was going to be fantastic to live in, but also a great place for people to work. So with that vision locked away, it's great, we've got a vision. To take advantage of the amazing environment we hope to create, we needed to actually find a partner who was going to share our vision for design. We needed to look at innovation and IT, about how we can make the place, how we use IT to really make the place work. And finally, we had to work on the culture and actually work with the staff training, staff development, and change the way the staff viewed their relationship with the resident. So starting with design, we were fortunate enough to partner with Marquise, and I know Frank from Marquise is attending the seminar and presenting later. And I guess a lot of what Frank will be talking about in terms of design, Marquise learned here, which is a really nice tie-in. We also made the unusual decision by Australian standards to engage Leslie and the team there at DSDC to add the dementia architect aspects to the project. So with the design locked away, that was fantastic. We had some really good people that shared our vision, understood dementia, and we're going to create a great environment for us. That set us on the next phase of the journey. While they're designing the building, that's great, we were looking for IT. We were looking for some IT innovation that was going to be really different, really add value to people's lives, make it easier for the staff to focus more on the residents and be less focused on some of the clinical stuff they've been in the past. And the design necessitated finding some of that IT as well, because the way the facility is designed here, we don't have nurse stations. A lot of the traditional stuff that you expect to be in a nursing home just isn't there. So how are we going to use IT to overcome that? So our IT team went off on a bit of a hunt, looked at lots of different solutions, and they came up with a product out of Norway, which we call Assist. It's basically a real-time location system, meaning that it's GPS tracked. When a resident is wearing the watch or a pendant, we can track them. We know exactly where they are at any given time. But the real power of the software, and why we went for it, was not just so we could track them. Rather than like in every nursing home I've been into in my life, having a big red or green bell on the wall that if you need help, you can push, and the nursing staff will come running. What happens if you're in an area of the facility where there is no button? You fall over on the floor and you can't, in the shower or on the floor in the hall, and you can't reach the button. How do you call for help? We've all heard and seen the horror stories of staff finding residents that have been on the floor for several hours, laying there in pain because no one knew they were there. The other aspect was, none of us live in a house with massive great red or green buttons on the wall. You don't go to the shower and see a red, green or blue, whatever button on the wall that a call help. For us, that was just going to destroy the home-like environment we were trying to create. It was furthering the institutional approach to aged care. So we've worked with Sonator, the people that provide this product out of Norway, and we're the first nursing home in the Southern Hemisphere, one of only a handful in the world, to have adapted this technology, this real-time location system technology, so that not only do we know where the residents are, the resident can actually push their button and call for help anywhere within the facility's ground, whether they be in the cafe, in their room, in the common areas, in the garden, it doesn't matter. And why is that important to the residents, particularly people with dementia? It allows us to create a sense of freedom and gives the residents a sense of security they otherwise wouldn't have. None of our nursing home areas here, our facility areas here, have locked doors. The doors are always open. And some of you are probably wondering, well, if you've got wanderers living in an environment like this and you're not locking doors, how do you control the wanderers? Another little benefit for the wristbands they wear, or the little watches they wear, is that we can actually set alerts. If we've got wanderers, we can give them free access everywhere and set alerts if they get within a certain distance of areas we don't want them to have. So say the main doors, or if they're in the car, if they get down into the car park, we know they're in the car park and we can actually have staff. It'll give us automatic alert to staff. So straight away, we've given everybody here free access to move anywhere within the facility. And for those that we're concerned about, we can set electronic boundaries that send alerts and allow us to track them. For the residents, the sense of freedom, the confidence of knowing and understanding that we are accessible. They can get staff anywhere they want. If they're in the garden and they're walking around the garden, they feel dizzy, they have a fall, they can push their button. It will alert the nearest staff member and tell them who has fallen or who's called for help and exactly where they are. It's an amazing sense of peace of mind it's given people. We've seen residents who otherwise wouldn't move about actually say they go and visit friends within the facility. They go to other parts of the facility. They don't ask staff to take them. They have the confidence to go because they know if they get into difficulty, if they need a staff member, it's only pushing a button. It's very close. They can get staff support immediately. Interesting, when we first announced that we were bringing this technology into the facility and we trialled it at 2 or 3 other sites, one of the first bits of feedback we got from staff was, well, that's great, but the people with dementia just won't know how to use it. So there was a little bit of pushback initially from staff concerned about people with dementia, the wanderers, not knowing how to use the call alert, and without having the traditional call bell system in place, they'd be more vulnerable because they just wouldn't know how to access support. Well, it's turned out to be a complete fallacy. Give you a couple of examples. At Lifecare, and it's not technology, it's simple design, every public toilet door in Lifecare is blue. There's a certain shade of blue. And at the site we trialled this at, I remember we're painting all the toilet doors blue, and a couple of staff come up to me and said, Alan, seriously, what a waste of money painting the toilet doors blue, and they gave me a bit of a hard time. But 6 months later, they came up to me and said, Alan, we owe you an apology. And I said, what for? And they said, well, we laughed at you when you painted the toilet doors, but now that we've educated and reinforced to those, even those with dementia, If they see blue, it's safety, they can go to the toilet and it's okay for them to go there. The number of accidents, the anxiety around going to the toilet has gone down significantly. Great. So if you can train people about the colour blue, you can train them if they need assistance to come and use the button. And that's exactly what it's been. It's been about reinforcement, encouraging them to push the button, for them to understand when they push the button, a staff member does come. Yep. And the other thing staff said was, well, that's okay. Once they work it out, it'll be a bit of a toy for them. They'll just sit there and push the button all day and we'll be doing nothing but running backwards and forwards to the room to go and turn their button off, turn their alarm off. Again, that hasn't been the case. Again, with education, with reinforcement, everybody here in this facility and the other two facilities we use this technology at is using it well, is using it to provide that safety and that surety they need to just further enhance the environment. Again, I go back, we've had a great vision for what we want to build, we've built it. We've had a great design team. Sterling have given us the recognition of having their gold star for dementia design. That's fantastic. Technology then is the next thing that really helps both the staff and the residents, and that's that peace of mind, that's freedom. I can't stress that enough. It's absolutely critical. And finally for us, obviously, having put the technology in place and the design, the critical thing then is staff, the culture. You design a different aged care facility, it doesn't look like a traditional facility. It's designed differently, the dementia queues and everything about it are different, the technology is different. Got to spend a lot of time with the staff. And we've been open here 14 months and we're still spending time with the staff to get it right, to make sure the staff really understand how to take advantage of everything that's here to make their lives easier and make the lives of the people living here better and more fulfilling. The next wave of technology that we're working with Sonitor on is twofold. One, we're working with them on falls detection. It's not quite right yet, but we're working on it so that when they're wearing their device, if they fall at a certain rate, it will automatically alert the staff with a different sounding or different type of a message to make sure they're aware that someone's fallen. So don't rely on the person who's fallen, who may have fallen on their wrist, may have fallen and knocked themselves out to be able to push the button. It will automatically tell them. We'd expect in the next 6 months to have that finalised and then bring that in so that our response to falls will be even better than they are now. The other thing that we're actually looking at with them, and we've done it and we're just trialling it at the moment, is not just having the electronic boundaries where we don't want people to go, but if we know we've got a couple of residents that might display, particularly those with dementia, that might display a bit of aggression towards each other, or might go into people's rooms and cause angst, we're trialling at the moment with some success, and we think we'll get this finalised with Sonitor in the next little while. Trialling it, so just like the electronic boundaries for areas we don't want wanderers to walk into, we're setting up boundaries where if somebody gets within a certain distance of someone else's room, or we've got two people that are a bit aggressive to each other, if they get within a certain distance of each other, an alarm will go off automatically and allow the staff to intervene before we have an incident that we have to manage. So again, we've put the software in, we've put the technology in, we love it. We're now learning and finding new ways to adapt it. And I think that's one of the big things. If you are looking at technology with dementia or any aspect of residential aged care, you've got to find a partner who's prepared to actually keep looking at new things and prepared to work with you to expand what they're offering rather than just accept what they've got. And I think the greatest challenge for us with the technology in the end wasn't the staff, wasn't the residents. The greatest challenge was finding the technology in the first place, because all of the traditional nurse call system operators in Australia were very fixated on it being on a wall, being hardwired into the wall, nothing about mobility, nothing about GPS, digitalisation, all that sort of stuff that is just commonplace now. So to find the right partner who had that sort of technology, but more importantly, was prepared to go on a further journey with us, to add more elements to enhance the experience we're offering here, has been very exciting for us. And it's easy, I guess some of you are probably thinking it's easy for me to sit here and say, well, you've got a brand new building, it's easy to go and design and put the brand new technology into a brand new building, and you're right. A lot easier to do it here when you actually understand the technology you want. That goes back and informs the design and also informs your work practices. Fantastic. Wasn't totally easy, but a lot easier than doing it in an existing facility. However, we have retrofitted this technology into 2 existing facilities successfully. It can be done, but again, you've got to be really clear about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and you need to have partners on board that are going to work with you and your staff to get it right. And you've got to be prepared to spend the time up front with your staff, with family members, and the people living in your facility to explain why you're changing it and what the benefits are for them. And I've got to say, within the 2 facilities we retrofitted, I'd say by the end of the first week, almost 100% of the staff and 100% of the residents had forgotten about the old system and moved on, and we were reaping the benefits of the new one. So rather than me just telling you how important IT has been here and what a difference it's made, maybe I share some results that'll help put it in perspective. This facility has been open for now 14 months, and on the 12-month anniversary, we reviewed the stats in terms of residents for the first 12 months of opening versus the 12 months in the previous facility. The number of call bell requests had gone up by 17%, but our response time on average had gone down by 20%. Falls in that period had gone down by 30%, and the quality of life of residents within the facility was 40% higher on the 12-month anniversary than it was at the time of the closing of the old facility. Now, that's not all technology. That's partly technology, it's partly design, it's some of the dementia stuff that Leslie and his team have brought to the design, it's the staff training we've done, but I think it's everything that comes together to deliver those sort of results. And the future of the technology, I've talked about a couple of things we're working with Sonitor on at the moment. One of the things that we're really now starting to look at is we've got 3 sites running on this Sonitor system is some data analysis. Across the 3 sites, now we can track where residents go and we can track where staff go. We can now start looking at peak load areas. What are the peak times? Where are people going? What are they doing at lunchtime? Is everyone coming to lunch at the same time? Are we delivering meals to all individual rooms rather than coming in? And looking at that data to start understanding how we can actually change our staffing and our rostering to be more efficient and meet the peak loads of requirements rather than having staff in areas where they don't need to be. Hope you have a great conference. I was in Stirling 2 or 3 years ago. I found it fascinating. I'm sure you will. Hope this has been useful and informative to you, and enjoy the rest of your time in Scotland. Thank you.